I don't know if once you put me up here, we can only go down, right? So it's a little scary, but actually our Albany County coordinator put it well, I thought. He said, and we did look at the numbers, and in 2006, this is what we consider the 21st district. We've lost 2 representatives in Washington, thanks to Representative Tonko. Through his work in the Assembly, we've managed to migrate people out of New York. So we've changed now to the 20th. But what our county coordinator said was in 2006, the Republican got 20% of the vote. In 2008, Jim Burmeister got 30% of the vote. 2010, Ted Danz got 42% of the vote. And now it's time to ratchet it up to over 50% of the vote. So if you follow that trend line, we're there. That's where we're going to be. So we're going to continue that trajectory. A little bit about me. As Patrick said, I've lived in Scotia all my life. And I am CFO of First National Bank of Scotia. I've been there for 19 years. Basically started as a teller, worked my way up. I was a stockbroker, and I ran the stockbrokers for the bank, and I've kind of gone up through those channels. And so I've been there 19 years, been married for 15 years to my wife Laura. We have 3 girls, ages 3, 11, and 13. And they would tell you they're going to be 4, 12, and 14. I've coached their softball teams, I've coached their basketball teams. Now they're doing gymnastics and tennis. I can't help them, they're on their own. But see, I was a 10-year veteran of the 109th down in Scotia. Went in and enlisted in the motor pool, worked my way up through sergeant, was selected to become an officer, went to officer school, responded to 9/11, responded to Hurricane Katrina, and left at the rank of captain when my youngest daughter was born 3 years ago. Rotarian for 13 years, which I left about the same time, about 5 years ago, because I was deployed and I left that. But chairman of my church's finance committee, I don't know, I do a million things. That's it. You don't need to. If you have any more questions about that, I can answer them. But I think the thing that probably qualifies me most and what really brought me into this whole fold was about the time that this the healthcare bill had come to be a big issue. I looked at it and said, and I hadn't been really political before that, and I said, you know what, I'm hearing 2 different sides. Which one is the truth? There's got to be something else here. What am I missing? So I started digging into it a little more, and I started to actually, that kind of drew me into the expense of this thing and what the nation's finances were. So I started digging into the nation's finances, and quite frankly, it scared the heck out of me. And I said, my first instinct was, these guys must know something I don't know, because there's no way they would allow this nation to get into this much trouble. And as I got deeper into it, started speaking with some people down in Washington and trying to learn more, and I realized they don't know anything I don't know. In fact, they don't even know what I do know. They don't understand it, and we are in big trouble. So armed with that knowledge, what do? And I talked to my wife quite a bit, and again, we went down to Washington, and I asked the NRCC to set me up with some appointments so that I could talk to congressmen who had kids about my kids' age. I said, you know what, if I'm going to run, I don't want this to screw up my family, so can I do this? And they assured me that the campaign would be difficult, but you know, once you're in office, it becomes more of a scheduled routine, and you can do it. So looked at our congressman. I said, he is never going to change. And I'll tell you, the one thing I respect about him is that he doesn't hide it. He'll tell you, I'm not going to fix anything. He's not going to do it. He's not going to stop spending. He's never seen a spending bill that he didn't like. He doesn't understand where jobs come from. He talks a lot about creating jobs, yet the U.S. Chamber, which is made up of businesses which have jobs, that's what they do. People have to work for businesses. They rated him at a 17 out of 100 based on the legislation that he was for or against and its ability to create jobs. 17 out of 100. He's got the worst record I believe the worst record in the Congress as far as job creation. So he talks a good game. He's a really good campaigner, and you can't take that away from him. And in fact, I believe our president is the same thing. He's a good campaigner. But if you're in business and you're in the private sector or you're just not in politics, it's pretty simple to understand that you can't hire the person that says they're the best. You have to hire the person that can do the job. And the fact that he gets his face on the front page and he's able to get the media behind him and he gets a photo op here and there, that doesn't make you the best leader. All he does is take his talking points from the Democrats and he sells them. And he's awful good at it, but that's what we have to do, is make sure we're not hiring the best campaigners, that we're hiring the best people to do the job. I'm going to do this job. I know I can do it. What I do for a living is forecast threats, and I make adjustments so that we can ensure the survivability of our company. We need someone doing that in Washington. They're not doing it. And you can see this coming at you. If you graph it, or if you whatever you like to do, you can see this, and it literally is a wave coming at us. It's so predictable, yet nobody's doing anything about it. And this healthcare law is a $2 trillion abomination, and it's the last thing we need. If you said, we're in big trouble, Bob, we need to turn this company around, or this country around, what are we going to do? Well, I think we should spend $2 trillion more on healthcare. Who would come up with that plan? And who would waste 2 years of an administration working on that plan and fighting over that plan and come up with what they came up with? It's crazy. America needs to get back to basics and do what we need to do. It's that important. We need to leave a country to our kids that we can say is the greatest country on earth. We've all grown up with that. I think it's only fair to pass that on to them. And quite frankly, if we do nothing right now, you're not going to be able to say that a few years down the road. And once you hit that downward spiral, and a lot of that is going to have to do with interest rates, and we know they're going to go up. We know that. It's a question of when, and my guess is 2 to 3 years. It could be as early as 1 year, could be 4 years, I don't know exactly, but it's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to start that downward spiral, and there's no way out of it. You're stuck with it. And I just will not allow that to happen. So at a minimum, I want my kids to know their father tried. And I hope that, and I believe that because you're here, that you guys feel the same way, that you're going to try. We're going to get this done, and we're going to basically solve the problems of the world. That's my story. That's why I'm running for Congress. And I'd love to hear your questions or anything you guys want to talk about. I'm here for you guys tonight, so you tell me. And I will just give you one last bit on the campaigns. The campaign is going strong. We've raised $100,000, which is not huge, but it's very respectable. We've, and as Patrick said, I've been working full time. I cut back to half-time as of July 1st. So now I'm going to have a little more time to do this, but still, to raise $100,000, the last congressional race for this district, for what was the 21st, the candidate raised $40,000 for the whole campaign. We raised $100,000 by the end of June. So we're on a good trajectory there. We've got a lot of volunteers. We're out in Albany, where you normally wouldn't think of it as being friendly territory for us, but we're getting really good feedback. We put out 1,000 of those cards at the fireworks. We've been at Alive at 5. We've been at all these different things, the Tulip Fest. And now when I go to places, it's neat that people are coming up and saying, I already have one. Remember me, I was at the Tulip Fest. We talked about this, or we did that. So that's really starting to build. We're starting to get momentum there. And it's really neat to see that starting to happen, because initially it was starting with one person, and I felt, you know what, this is going to be me and my wife, and nobody's going to support us, and we're going to be talking, and no one's going to listen. And it's so great to see really support coming up, and people who actually care. And through this process, I've gotten to know so many people I never would have gotten to know, and if nothing else, that's a great thing. I'm really enjoying it. But I will open it up for whatever you guys want to talk about. I'd love to talk about it.